What is going on, Tentacrew? My name is Billy the Squid, and the multiplayer systems in Elden Ring are working how FromSoftware intended. But how FromSoftware intends might not be how you would want to play through co-op. In this video, I'm going to talk about the multiplayer systems in Elden Ring and explain specifically why, if co-op is your sole focus of wanting to pick up Elden Ring, you might want to reconsider, or at least see if the single-player version of the game is something that you are going to enjoy, because the co-op is not going to work how traditional co-op games do in this genre. So without further ado, let's break it down. So the idea for this video got stirred up from a prior video I did where I talked about the multiplayer systems in Elden Ring and how solo play, co-op, and PvP are kind of vying for attention and how they don't mesh super well together. But that video is also getting a lot of comments recently about how people are picking up the game, wanting to play co-op and have that kind of a co-op experience, and they're unsatisfied with the way that FromSoftware has done it. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys, if you are wanting to play Elden Ring like it is Destiny or Genshin Impact or anything like that, where you can just be brought into your friend's world, you guys progress through the game all the way together, and they can hop in or hop out whenever they want to, that is not the way FromSoftware does their co-op. That is not the way the co-op works in this game. And I'm going to break down exactly how it works. So co-op in Elden Ring works on a summoning system. You need a Calling Finger remedy to be able to access the co-op system, and then once you do that, you pop one of those and you can see the golden summoning signs scattered throughout the world or placed at summoning pools. How co-op works is you walk up to one of these signs, say you have a friend, you've set up a password, and you can only see their signs. Great. You walk up to your friend's sign and you summon them in. Wonderful. You are now playing co-op with your friend, but it is in blocked off sections of the game. So the way the co-op system works is as soon as you bring somebody into your world, you are immediately gated off from using your horse. If you're in the open world, you're not going to be able to use your horse. You're going to have to hoof it everywhere with the old shoe leather express. But you can go pretty well anywhere in that open world scape. I say pretty well because the co-op system does gate you off from progressing into other areas. What do I mean by this? I mean, if you walk up to a dungeon, there's going to be a gray fog wall in front of that dungeon. And for your friend to be able to get into that dungeon, you are going to have to leave their world and then go into the dungeon. For you to be able to play that dungeon with your friend, you're then going to have to go into their world if they haven't unlocked that dungeon already, and then walk them over to that dungeon so that they can get access to it. Once you both have access to that dungeon, you can then get summoned in within that dungeon and then play through the dungeon together. But you are going to have to play through the dungeon on both of your characters. I understand it is a system that from the outside seems very convoluted and very disjointed, and for a lot of situations it kind of is, especially with the open world scape. It can make traveling around with your friends feel a bit messy, but I do believe that there is an intent behind this, and I will get to that later in the video. Things to keep in mind with the co-op system is if you intend to play from start to finish co-op with this game, you are effectively going to have to play through the game twice, because progression from the person being summoned into the world does not transfer to their world. You are only being summoned in as a helper. Yes, you will get armor drops, you can get weapon drops, you can get a lot of experience, so you are going to be leveling up effectively twice as fast, but the progress in that world state does not transfer to your world state, so you're going to have to play through the game 2 times. Something else to note is that the Calling Finger remedies are a consumable item. Whenever you use them, they are used up completely, and this isn't that big of an issue. It's just a little bit of a barrier of entry, I guess, but most of these sites of grace have at least 2 of the Erdtree flowers that you use to craft Calling Finger remedies, and you can craft those right from the beginning of the game, so it's not really that big of a deal. You're going to get a ton of them throughout the game, and you should never be in a situation where you don't have Calling Finger remedies to be able to summon somebody in if you want to. Last thing to note, whenever you're engaged in co-op, this automatically opens you up to PvP invaders. Any red phantoms can invade your world at any time while you are engaged in a co-op session and fight you and whoever you have brought into your world. This is the only time that invaders are able to be brought into your world, unless you opt for them in. Solo play, you're completely free of invaders outside of the NPC invaders that function as like mini bosses, unless you use an item called the Taunter's Tongue to allow invaders to come into your world. So keep that in mind as well. if PvP is not your forte, then co-op in Elden Ring might not be either. A few last little snippets. If you pop a Furl Calling Finger remedy, that remedy is active until you teleport or die. So if you bring in a friend as a summon, they die, for instance, you can bring them back in from another summon sign free of charge. You don't have to pop another Furl Calling Finger remedy. It remains active as long as you remain active in that instance. And lastly, if you are being brought in as the summon, you are going to have your resources effectively cut in half. So if you have 2 of each flask, you are now going to have 1 of each flask. You still get the flask refills from the open world whenever you clear out mobs of enemies like you would with solo play or if you were the host, but it does cut your resources down significantly. Also, if you are a higher level than what your host character is, you will be scaled down to that level so that you can still co-op with your friend at a lower level, but it makes it so that you can't steamroll the game for them. Also keep in mind that you can't use spirit summons while engaged in cooperative play. This is a great time to mention, by the way, that the footage that you're watching behind me is taken from my live stream right here on YouTube, so if you want more Elden Ring content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if this video has been helpful so far, like it, because we're going to have a lot more coming. So why did FromSoftware design their cooperative system this way? Why couldn't they have just made a system where you can come in and play from start to finish the game with your friends without any breaks in the action, breaks in the cooperative experience? And I think this comes from a place where I believe these games are 100% balanced around the single-player experience. I do not believe that the intention was ever for you to be able to play through this game from start to finish with a friend. They give you the option to do that because FromSoftware is not idiots and they understand that online play with friends is something that people would want. If there is going to be a co-op system in the game, they have to make it a way so that people can do that if they want to. But given the fact that progress isn't saved between you and your summon, and you're going to have to go into your summon's world after they go through your world, it very much sets up that they don't want this to be the de facto way to play the game. They have balanced this game very specifically with the solo player experience in mind, and summon spirits and co-op summons are just another facet for you to help break through some of the walls of the game. They are another resource, just like weapons, magic, or anything else that you have the option to utilize, but it isn't the required or balanced way to play the game. And I'm not saying that co-op makes the game easier per se. A bad summon that you bring into your world could very easily make a boss encounter harder for you just by the fact that if you bring somebody in for co-op, the boss is going to get an increased health pool and increased damage. And if they die off immediately, then you're stuck fighting a harder boss than what you would have fought whenever you were solo. The way I see it, the co-op is incentivized to be used on difficult encounters. There's a reason why summoning pools are present outside of world bosses, outside of large camps in the open world, at the start of every dungeon, and outside of every single one of the boss gates. You will always find a summoning pool there so that you can bring in a partner if you need it. Because like I said, it's meant to be a resource, not the de facto way of playing. But, as I've said before, if you have the intention of playing through this game co-op from start to finish, you have the means to do so. It just might not be the smooth, streamlined experience that you would want or have expected coming from other AAA games. But FromSoftware has never really stuck with the AAA way of doing things in their video games. And I do believe that there's a back-end reason why the co-op and PvP systems work the way they do. Having each area kind of sectioned off makes it so that you have effectively a pool of players in that area that are going to be either co-opable or PvPable. And it breaks up the server strain so that they don't have to factor every single player to every single space within the game. They can have that player specifically focused on this dungeon, for instance, and they don't have to worry about other PvP players coming in or having to bring in other co-op players to help them with this area. Only players that are in this area and looking for co-op and PvP get brought to this area. It kind of helps break up the server tension a little bit, and I think that is one of the bigger reasons outside of the gameplay balancing that the systems work the way that they do. Elden Ring is an amazing game. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and the co-op experience has been very, very good from the experiences that I've had with it. But if you're wanting a streamlined co-op experience, this might not be the game for you. And I just wanted to lay that out so that there was not as much misconception about how the co-op systems work, and there hopefully could cut down on some frustrations. But that is my spiel for the multiplayer systems. Thank you very much for watching, Tenant Crew. If you enjoyed, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Much love. Bye-bye.